Now we're live, we're good.
Okay, good morning everyone. We'll call the meeting to order at 10:02. And first of all, I want to go over who's here. So my name is Reggie Wool, and other board members that are in attendance are Judy Hopkins, John Rickey, Doug Frank, and Randy Shaler. We also have some guests. Oh, Craig Clark, our executive director. We also have some guests, Deb Root, Fred Demick, Dwight Fanton, Tom Windus, and Oakley Sorter. Miss anyone? Okay. First order of business is conflicts of interest. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes. Does anybody need to declare any conflicts of interest? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of board minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the board minutes from November 10th, please?
So
Judy, John, okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks. Now we get on to the abstract report. I have a motion to approve our.
We don't have this.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. Okay, we have a couple guests that just came in, Chris and Nat, and
Tim Boyd.
Tim Boyd, okay. Yeah, okay, so, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately this month Pam is out right now, so we don't have the abstracts. We'll get those to you as soon as we get those available so we can pay the bills.
Okay. So we'll move on. Craig, is there any building maintenance report today?
No, the only thing is we've had to expand some of the water testing. We didn't do some water testing, we missed it, but it's all been taken care of, so we're up to speed, so we're good now.
Okay, thank you. We're going to forego the executive session today unless anybody thinks we need to go into executive session. Okay. On to action items, update for local labor exemption on YF solar projects.
As I mentioned, the last meeting, if we talked earlier about doing local labor, they have now contacted and been working with Brad Walders. They've contacted up to 25 different contractors of different statuses, different parts of the project. 8 have responded. They have hired a couple. They have actually hired 15 what we would consider local employees. When I get the full quarterly report, then we'll figure out where they are on their percentages. But right now they are doing what we asked, so they are finally reaching out to all those contractors in the region. So,
okay. So no
the issue was, just so you know, some of the people on the board may not know, is they asked for a waiver of the 90% local labor law, and we said not until you've proven that you've tried to do what you've tried to do, is try to hire some local labor, and they have been working with Brad Walders and the local union to hire some local people. So.
Okay, so no action required on that today. Just wait for further status. Any other action items? Okay, we'll move on to old business, Crossroad Development Update. Tom Windus.
Not sure
What
what
we're
you,
looking for.
yeah, looking for
Okay.
me, but, you see the map that is in front of you. This was brought to us, Craig and I met with
Right.
Boyd to look at the conceptual plan that Clark Patterson Lee, and I'm sure you all have seen all of that. And he also gave us at DPW the background and the work the CPL did.
Which is
So-
right there.
Yes, that big binder.
Which is a big binder, just to clarify. That's what we paid CP&L to do. It's all the environmental work at the site. Plus they did some preliminary geotechnical work, and we did some survey mapping, which Tom has used as well.
Correct.
So ended up, all the work that they did, part of it was some schematic preliminary engineering work, but most of it was the environmental work to make sure that site is ready, so that when we get a developer, they don't have to do that work. That took 6 months. And now when you get a developer, they can go out and just break ground, which is good, because we'll have to still do a secret, but all the work's been done.
So we took that information, my surveyors went out and verified some spots. Biggest thing was trying to locate the roadway. And again, on that original CPL draft, and it was like conceptual at that. Biggest concern that I saw, and recommendation, and everything here is just a recommendation of ideas and things that we can talk about. But instead of trying to me, it was a driveway. If it was going to be a county road or a town road or a public road, call it any public road, it should loop on itself, or at least have a way for somebody to maintain it, go down, turn around, and come back. So when we talked initially, and you know, that was the whole point that Craig brought up, was why you bought the parcel as it looks like. I call it hammerhead because it looks like a hammerhead. You know, it gives you the outlet back to County Route 20. So we talked about just laying out, preliminary layout to see, well, can it work? And you notice that the area that has a mask in it is wetlands to the middle of the picture, and then the upper part of the picture, we really only have one spot that we can cross with a roadway. Keep us out of that wetlands. And both of those areas are federal declared wetlands. Can you modify them? Probably, but it takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. So, you know, our recommendation is that, you know, if this is what everybody's directioning is in the county legislature and here, then this is the approach that we would take to try and get the road put in with our own forces. You know, Craig has said that there's money set aside. Our guys do this work. This is simple work. This is what they enjoy doing. And we've got the equipment to do it. So, you know, we can, is it finalized? No. It's just a matter of, it's something there to give us a way to get going. And, but, you know, if it is the pleasure of everybody that this is kind of the goal to get us in directioning, you know, we'd like to work together to get an easement, one for a roadway. We need one from you guys and from Quickly's. And then also have permission, and we can go in and do a lot of the grading and clearing work that needs to be done for a developer to come out there and say, oh, this is ready for us. And the other part that I brought up to Craig's attention is this: you can see the two different hatching to the northwest. There's a bit of a swale wet area in there that is not designated federal wetlands. It's just a wetland type grasses. So I think we should go in there and at least put in some drainage in there so it's all developable. Now you've got 5.82 acres plus 3.6 acres. It gives it a good area for development. And, you know, the hotel and/or restaurant could easily go in there. But you know, this was just a concept that came off of, as we said, the original CPL and then the documentation that they had. With Craig's directioning that the roadway that Quickly's put in was actually supposed to be the entrance. So,
yeah, they built that to your standards, so it's acceptable. And they built the first leg of it to go in there. They wanted to have that access for their trucks.
And we just would recommend some tweaks to it.
Right.
But just to make it wider, what we've seen, trucks actually are crossing County Route 20 to swing in as you're coming to the going west on 20.
Right.
If we can make a bigger radius there, it would help there. And so that was just some of the concepts and some of the ideas that we had to modify to kind of bring it to fruition. And, you know, I guess we can go from there.
Any board members have any questions?
Just a couple of comments. What was the size of the hotel?
80 bed.
Because on CPL's study here, it says they looking at a 150 room hotel with an 85,000 square foot footprint. I've done some Googling and I'm reading up it. If you're gonna go like 85 rooms, you can do it in like 40,000 square feet.
Right.
So is the fact that that's half the size of what they have here, plus, you know, in rooms and in square footage, does that make a difference for your footprint for the road? And does it make a difference on the septic?
That would make a difference in the
yes.
septic.
Septic, the water sewer portion is really separate. I really didn't win that yet, but we did. We put an RFQ together and put it out just to try and get help. The road-wise, design-wise, construction-wise, we can do all of that. We need help. I need help with the water and sewer portion of it. And as Craig had explained it to us, you know, your plan was to have some type of package plant for sewage. So you need collection, you need treatment, and we also need storage for water. You know, we know we have the water line that goes out there, but it's not enough supply for fire protection and development itself. So that was why we threw an RFQ out there. trying to get at least qualified applicants to send back their information. We've reviewed it internally, and have some scoring, but we'd like to sit down now and actually do some live interviews with those firms and then determine who we want to work with for that. Trying to get somebody that's actually been doing it, you know, and understands, you gotta create districts for those things because they're public things. And, you know, but, so that's the whole point, is to try and work together between our internal people and consultant to come up with a good game plan. One of the suggestions that I had to Craig at that point in time, instead of locating that package plan, if that's the direction we all go in, instead of putting it on this parcel, because you are limited based on wetlands, is the possibility of moving it to the west a little bit on the S curves where we currently own, the county does, for a couple different reasons, but it also allows for future development in that neck of the woods, but it gets that facility off of developable property. So just a suggestion, an option, but something we can all look at. So, and then the water tank itself, it doesn't have to be located right here, but we would want to try and site that, obviously, with Oakley's help and guidance. So, but size-wise, everything would be good based on what potentially could be there.
Right.
Morning.
Morning, Mike.
Yeah, they were a little bit more optimistic. So what we've been talking to the developers for 80 bed. We talked at one time about 120, but we haven't been able to find anybody that was willing to put a 120 bed hotel out there.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks for all your work.
The only other, I just wanted to bring up one other thing, is because we want to continue to work, and Tom and I work together well, and I think we will. But we've suggested that probably we have a couple of board members from both the county and IDA meet together as a group, so that when there are other issues that come up in between board meetings, we can work, not wait.
Okay,
So a subgroup kind of.
okay. Is there anybody who knows anything about pipelines or utilities that want?
Sorry, Randy.
Well, you all have other stuff on your plate too, so.
But it wouldn't be a lot of
I
meetings.
wouldn't be the logical person. Obviously.
There really wouldn't be a lot of meetings but it's really at the points where we need to have some input, right? Right, Tom?
Sure. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out
Right.
who's driving the car.
Right, we can't wait, you can't wait to talk to us once a month to
Right.
get anything.
Right.
We realize that, so. Would anybody like to volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Randy, thank you. Would you you interested or?
If need be.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm there with
okay.
that.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, what about, should Oakley be involved, kind of? I mean, he's not on the board, but he's super important to us.
When anything with the water line, he'll be on, he'll be answering all the questions.
Okay.
Mr. Oakley.
Okay, all right.
I have a question, Rich.
Okay.
What is the timeline that you're looking at in terms of completing this or starting this or?
Good question. A lot of it depends on, one, I guess the biggest hurdle would be getting legal permission to go on the property, because it's IDA property. So we would need to get an agreement between the two entities for us to even do work on your property. And that should outline what you want us to do, how we do that, and then it would have to be agreed upon by the board and you. But, again, my suggestion at that time when we sat down to talk about the development was, I wouldn't recommend building the full road. Build a subbase, build it to a gravel roadway to where it's substantial enough that you can bring trucks in, you can bring
A developer in.
Yeah, developer, whomever wants to do their work. But blacktop only lasts 8 years. So I'd hate to go in there and pave a road, and the developer takes 2 years to get here and 3 years to build. Now you're 5 years into an 8-year lifespan. It's not practical, in my opinion. So that was our thoughts.
Yeah, people tend to use it for other reasons.
Yeah, and don't even open it. You know what I mean? Put barricades, just create that, let us clear it, let us create that gravel base, And then, because they also will also destroy a road in a quick hurry with the amount of trucks they got coming in, their equipment, everything else. So then when they're ready to open, in theory, you pave it as soon as they're done, and then you can open it.
So you're looking at the entire thing not being paved?
Correct,
Just
that
a
would be my
portion?
suggestion.
Okay.
My suggestion would be just to gravel the whole thing.
Okay.
And we could easily do that within a couple of months, as long as it's not frozen. You know, if we can get authorization to go in there, we can do a lot of the clearing and grubbing.
So you're looking at this spring and summer that
Yeah.
you'll be able to complete the project?
I don't see why we couldn't do what we are suggesting to do in that time frame. But again, it's between you guys doing the agreement with the county and authorization to actually go do that work.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
I had one question. What about the utilities? So like, we don't want to start building a road till we know we can get adequate power, water, you know, sewer and all that. So what, like, how does the timing for all those work? I mean, would you start working on the road before we knew for sure about all that stuff?
That's where I'm leaning
Okay.
on you guys,
Yeah,
because it was brought to me that this was ready to go.
Right.
The only thing between the developer coming there is us building a road.
Okay.
So
Which-
I don't want to be the
well,
cog in that.
And that's what CPNL validated, working with Oakley. There's enough water, obviously, the sewer's gonna be, we're gonna have to put a sewer system in. And everything's been submitted to RG&E to reply to us about the power. We just have to get on them so it's done quickly, so that we know for sure if there's an extra cost upcharge to increase the power.
And if it's available.
And I think it's available, but we need to make sure that what's the cost of any. So,
So as soon as we have
That's
something
been
in writing
submitted.
from them, then we'd be in a position to move forward.
right.
Okay. Mike, Healy, did you have something?
Yeah, I did, and as far as the legal agreement between the county and the IDA, there's probably, there might be one already, there in the files, or if there's not, certainly.
We can get that taken care of pretty
A
quickly.
template that
Yeah.
would allow you to get that part done rather rapidly.
That shouldn't hold anything up.
Have we determined the financial arrangement between the county and the IDA for this effort and this work? They're all the equipment.
Well, the effort that we're talking about, which is the road, the water and sewer right now, is through the county. Go ahead, Carissa.
I just want to say that one of the options of the county doing this work, especially on the roadway, is that this could be adapted into the county road plan, and
Right.
the county would be responsible for maintaining this as a county road in the future when we do open it, rather than a private road that either the IDA needs to maintain or whoever comes in as a developer. So some of that would be on the county, just as we would have for any other county road.
I'm thinking more of the construction.
Well, the
initial
construction
cost.
would go the same as any other county road we would construct. It would just be a county cost if that's the option we want to go with. The package plant and the water, we would have to think a little bit on, but I think, you know, the county is committed to economic development, and we should have conversations on that.
So there would be funding, probably down the road, at least for the future, for the maintenance and upkeep of the road, if it was a county road. And there might even be some funding out there for the building and construction of the road. I think it's all positive.
That leads me to the question, do we have any ideas right now on the cost of this project?
Yes.
Of what we're, you know. planning?
Well, the cost estimate to CPNL was $5 million if it was all bid out. That's everything.
Okay.
This phase, I think, was 3, but it's gonna be less because the county's gonna be doing a lot of the work.
And that was kind of what we discussed with, you know, Craig explained there was a certain amount of money's there, and it was there set up for a private entity to do
Right.
it. Well, it's gonna cost you a lot more because of prevailing wages and everything else. If we do the work, let's put the money towards materials, and then you can install what you need to install. You know, make sure that you have everything in the water, the sewer, any other conduits, if you want buried electric, put all that stuff in there. And, you know, you can go a full road instead of just a partial, you know, basically it's about twice the length of what it was proposed before.
Right.
But if we're building it, you know, you can put that in materials.
So in the DPW timeline, then, I mean, I know they plan ahead, and they already have 2023 mapped out probably,
Sure.
and the next projects are gonna be just as good.
That's why it's nice if we could do this in the wintertime, springtime,
In the
when it's
winter.
not snowing.
We could do it.
Yeah, because it's the same, our guys are set up to do plowing, but if it's no snow, they have time to do other work, so this fits in really well. Now, when it comes to summertime, you're right.
Yeah.
It's not like we could drop all of our other work to just do this. So the quicker we could get an agreement and everybody says, yes, let's at least get the clearing done. Because then, that was the other thought we had, is if we take baby steps of, you're not a lot of money invested in building, clearing, grubbing, making it viable so you can see it. All of the money, the biggest part of the money is your water, sewer, and finishing.
Right.
So you got time to then have a developer in place or other activities ready to go. And if you don't, you're not wasting a lot of effort. It's just our thoughts.
Natural gas, how far is that away?
Mile and 3 different directions.
There's two,
6,000 feet.
yeah, there's a couple different ways to find it. Yeah. That we talked about actually running right down past us. They were willing to do that national fuel.
For a price.
What?
For a price, I'm sure.
Yeah, we pay for it, but they can't charge us anything. They can't make a dime on it, is what I was told.
Okay.
He told me between 350 and 500,000, depending which direction.
Right.
That was national fuel.
National fuel.
Did you check with Fillmore Gas? They run gas to the American on Nash. I remember Jack and Jack Wood was
Right.
there. We talked, Pokey and I talked to Fillmore Gas, and they seemed pretty eager to try to help out if they could. And they supply gas to the jail currently, so we do business for them already. I just want to comment on the road quick.
Sure.
Quick for a minute. I looked at the plan myself and I talked with White, Fred, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Deb about it. I think you really, we all agreed you did a really nice job laying that out, and that makes, the way you did it too, also makes the other way down there accessible for development other than what we own.
Right.
So it might as well benefit everybody.
Good point. Anybody else have any questions or comments? And again, thanks for all your work and professionalism. I mean, it's just obvious, you're doing a great job.
We're just here to help facilitate it, move
Yeah.
forward, like I say, whatever we can do to help in that direction.
So this might be a question for Chris. How long will it take to get that transfer done from IDA to the county? Do you have any idea? I mean, is it a month or is it a week or?
Yeah, it probably within a month, I would say.
So the transfer might take longer, but the permission could be quicker maybe, right? Or isn't that, can't you do that?
I think both could be probably about the
Okay,
same time. It
okay.
just depends really on the board's schedule and getting it through a board meeting.
We can always have a schedule.
And we can do a special meeting whenever we need to have one, so it's really up to the county.
So Chris, that has to come from a county board meeting?
Yes, because you would have to enter into the agreement just as the same as here.
Right.
So what would be the process? Does it have to go through committee, ways and means and board? Does it go directly to the board? I mean, can we move that process up?
My suggestion to you guys on the county board would be to think about a committee in the whole, because it stands for multiple committees, rather than going through public works or ways and means, just hit one committee and then a board meeting.
Do we have one scheduled?
No, but we could make one.
I think we have a lot.
We're gonna need to meet soon on our financials
Sure.
anyway, so.
I'll have Dan start working with your lawyer and we'll figure that out. Paper wise, it's not a big deal.
You know if there's already an agreement?
Not for this land, no. There's an agreement on the S curves, but not on this. And this is a little different because really for the road itself, you need a different kind of a right of way. It's not just working on the land.
Okay, so just to finish this up, we're gonna have the county attorney and
Work
our
with Dan
attorney get
Spitzer.
together, okay, and get an agreement.
Okay.
That's,
I just want to make a note, I'm going to go back to the mitigation, but the costs and who's going to pay for this. A year ago, the legislature earmarked $7.5 million, Mike, towards.
where Terry would allow us.
It was just over 7, yeah, it was 7. It got down to 7, yes.
They all agreed at 7. Anyways, we earmarked $7 million for economic development. And looking at development across the board, but it can be used for this. And we also, in our P&D meeting, talked about and charged our administration to go back and look at where is the best to pay for this. Is it best to use ARPA money or have it come out of the money that we earmarked? So we're ready to move with this, and I don't know what the end result is and where that money is coming from. We have earmarked money.
And they did it a second time for the 5 million when we did the estimate based upon Aaliyah's design. So it's been approved twice as far as the funding.
Okay. Now on to solar updates.
Any other questions? Okay. The only solar update I have is, as you know, the one large one in Alfred. They're going to come back to us with another offer. They offered a very low ball number to start with. We're asking them to come back with a different number on the total pilot as well as host agreement. So we have not heard from them recently, but I know they're going to be coming back with us with a number.
All right, and I had a call from someone in Wellsville, and they were concerned that they hadn't received any money for the Lewis Road project, and they felt like they're supposed to. So Craig, you're going to check.
I'll follow into
that. Supposed
yeah.
to be, but
I think the other issue.
I don't know what date they're supposed to have their payment by, so
we'll look at the
back
payment
today.
We'll look at the payment process, but it's also, I'm pretty sure they have to send them an invoice. I doubt if they're going to pay you unless they send them something.
Well,
but I'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think the agreement mentions an invoice though, but
Yeah.
maybe it does. And then the other issue that someone brought up to me is, are these solar projects being connected to the grid? And I know that we talked about this, that the communities and the schools in the county get paid whether they're connected to the grid or not. But, you know, it's still taxpayer money that they're getting these tax advantages with. And so, you know, I guess I just wanted to throw that out there to the board. Do we want to have a requirement for these projects from now on, you know, before we approve any kind of pilot? Do you have anything in writing guaranteeing that you got a place to send this electricity? I don't know if it's our responsibility or not, but I just want to throw it out there because somebody brought it up to me.
Seems like they have to have a place for the electricity to go.
You would think so.
They only can
Different.
They only can build them if they have approval from the state. But I think the question is right now, and I think
But approval from the state's different than getting
the suppliers, but it goes through the supplier too. But the supplier basically, I think there's an issue with the grid being able to take all the solar projects, not just ours, the whole grid. So if you want to, what I can do is it won't take long, all the developers, I can validate that they're all hooked up and running. Because I know last time it came up, the ones in Belfast, they said they weren't, and I know the developer assured me that they were. And obviously he didn't build those 4 systems unless he was going to be able to return on investment, because he doesn't get any money if they're not producing. But I can validate pretty quickly.
At what stage do the host agreements start to pay?
When they're completed. It should be when they're completed, yeah, when they're connected.
Okay.
Not when they're powered up, but when they're connected, yeah, when they're finished, project's finished.
Okay, so wait to hear back.
I can do that check, it's not our check.
Okay, all right, and if you could let me know about the Lewis Road, when that money's supposed to be.
I will.
Starting to flow. Okay, thanks. Next issue is micro enterprise updates.
Well, as we know, the last micro enterprise grant was all approved from the state, and I think it's going through the county approval process, right?
Correct.
So that one we'll be able to announce that we'll have the $300,000 like we did last time, which is $200,000. And we really helped five companies, and it's a good project. So that'll be coming out shortly. And the larger one, the COVID one, we're just about ready to announce. I'll send to both boards the actual program, because obviously Harry Zuckerman's group has the program. They have a form. They have the whole thing about set. We want to do that public announcement before Christmas. So we'll have $1 million to get out on that one.
Great. Small business CBDG.
That's the second one, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other old business? Okay. Any new business? Anything for the good of the order? If not, I'd like a motion to adjourn. John? And Judy, thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
We're done, thank you.